What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Horsemen Sports, where we continue the AFC South version of division debates, this time with Tennessee Titans, who in 2022 they went 7-10. Disappointing year for them last year, but they've been one of the most injured teams in the NFL over the last couple of years. So I try to give them some leeway. I think Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. I think they've overperformed for most of the years that he's been the coach, to be completely honest. And when you ask me, did the Titans get better or worse this offseason? Despite the Titans losing a large amount of talent to free agency or just not being re signed, they should be relatively comparable to last year's team, in my opinion, just better on offense. This year you have Derrick Henry going to be healthy. DeAndre Hopkins is on the team, and he looks like he's going to be himself once again. The videos we're seeing from DeAndre Hopkins at training camp looks like regular old D Hop. Doesn't look like he's fallen off at all. So when you look at it, you have two of the best players at their position, and you just have to assume that's going to have a major impact on their offense, which is going to have a major impact on their season, because in the NFL, you got to score points. When you have Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins, those guys score a lot of touchdowns. Okay, both those guys touch the ball a lot too. So you can expect both of these guys to do their thing. That's just it. They're going to dominate. It's what they do. Okay, and then you look at the rest of the Titans offense. They still have Treylon Burks, who's a bit of a wild card. I know Titans fans will tell you that he's the next coming of A.J. Brown. But A.J. Brown was great as a rookie. Treylon Burks didn't really make much of an impact. He had moments, but a lot of guys have moments in the league. These are some of the greatest athletes in the world. And a lot of the guys that make it to the NFL can make plays, but it's just, can they do it consistently? So can Treylon be great consistently? We haven't seen it yet, and I don't know if he can. But I think it's going to help him this year having D-Hop there, because it's going to take less pressure off of him to be the guy. He can go out there. He's going to be covered differently. He's going to be able to get open easier. So maybe having D-Hop there is going to be the best thing for Treylon. But he's also got to be able to stay on the field. It was one of the issues as a rookie. He's got to be able to be available, right? Because they were able to re-sign Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, but the depth behind those guys is crazy. Like, there are people that are going to know the name Chris Moore, but casual fans don't know who Chris Moore is. The depth behind those three guys is so bad on this team. So they have to have all of those guys healthy all season long. And that applies to tight end also. They're not deep at tight end, but the guy that they have at tight end is one of the most popular picks to be a guy that's going to have a breakout season. And honestly, I'm one of those people. I think Chikazia Okonkwo has enough talent and was able to get enough experience in coming into his second season. I really think this is a guy that can take the next step, not only because he has the talent and he has the athleticism and the athletic profile to be great, but he's around other great players, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins. When you have greatness in the room like that, it's going to elevate what you're doing because the expectations get higher. You see great things at practice every day. You want to join that club, you better work hard. And honestly, I think Chiggy's going to be able to do that. So again, especially if you're a fantasy manager, keep Chiggy in your radar as a breakout tight end this season. And obviously, whatever happens with the receivers is going to depend largely on the quarterbacks. After drafting Will Levis in 2023, we're going to be watching closely to see if Tannehill folds under the pressure and if Will Levis is able to step up and be the guy if that happens. Now, when you look at the history, Tannehill was in a quarterback battle when Marcus Mariota folded. Tannehill stepped up and played pretty well for a season and a half. But can Tannehill come back to being the Tannehill that we knew him to be? A lot of people were saying he was at least in the MVP conversation. Can he get back to that point? And there's certainly a path. Again, the wide receivers are going to have to stay healthy. But if Tannehill struggles, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Right now on ESPN.com, if you go look at the Titans depth chart, Malik Willis is still QB2. So I'm wondering what that means for both Malik Willis, Will Levis. Who's going to get QB2 coming into it? I expect it to be Will Levis because of what we saw from Malik Willis last year. But if it is Malik Willis, one of these guys is going to be a practice squad guy. Are they going to cut one of these guys? Are they going to try to trade one of these guys? It'll be interesting to see what happens all around with this whole QB thing. But honestly, when I come down to my predictions, like record predictions, I'm expecting Ryan Tannehill to be the quarterback for the entirety of the 2023 season, right? So if we looked at, quarterbacks have to be able to do their thing so the wide receivers can do their thing. Well, the offensive line is going to have to be able to do their thing so the quarterbacks can do their thing. In this offseason, the Titans signed Andre Dillard, the left tackle from the Eagles, to replace Taylor Lewan, which I thought was a great signing, getting a guy from the best offensive line in the NFL over the last few years. And he's still fairly young, mid-20s. So I thought it was a great pickup, one of the biggest needs on the football team and one of the most important positions on the football team. Now, they also drafted Peter Skoronski, who got drafted as a left tackle, but they're actually moving him into left guard because of the pickup of Andre Dillard. Then you look at the other parts of the offensive line. Ben Jones, the center, not there anymore, and it's not going to be easy to replace him. They have Aaron Brewer stepping up. He's tasked with replacing Ben Jones, and we're going to just have to see. Predicting how centers are going to do in the NFL is one of the hardest things. So it'll be interesting to see how Aaron Brewer does. Ben Jones has been one of the best in the business for a long time now. So again, replacing him, not going to be easy. And it's one of the most vital positions on the football team. And getting that chemistry with Ryan Tannehill could have a big impact on how Tannehill's season goes and on how the success of the Titans 2023 season ends up. Right. So with all that said about the offense, let's look over to the defense a little bit, where you have the Titans re-signing and extending Kevin Byard and Jeffrey Simmons. Those are the two best players on the defense, and they were able to bring them back. That's massive news for the Titans. Now, unfortunately, they lost who was probably the third best player on that defense, and David Long Jr., linebacker. He is phenomenal, but he left in free agency, and they were able to sign Azeez Al-Shaair and Ben Niemann. Those guys are going to come in and help fill some of those linebacker spots. The Titans lost a lot of people, whether they just didn't re-sign them this offseason or they lost them to free agency. The Titans lost a ridiculous amount of guys. So they have a lot to replace. They got a couple of linebackers, and then they went out and signed Sean Murphy-Bunting, which I thought was a huge pickup for them because they have a pretty young secondary, and a lot of that secondary has been struggling with injuries for most of their career. Sean Murphy-Bunting, usually on the field. Sean Murphy-Bunting been pretty damn good ever since he came into the NFL, and I expect that to continue. So I think he's going to help make what was probably the worst part of the Titans team. He makes that instantly better. Okay, so with all that said, we've gone over the offense, we've gone over the defense, and how we feel about both of those. So with all that said, let's look at some of the Titans' schedules, some of the games that I think could be noteworthy or potentially important games for them this season. Okay, don't really have to talk about week 1. I think they beat the Saints week 1. But then you look at weeks 2 through 4, where they're at home against the Chargers, in Cleveland against the Browns, and then at home against the Bengals. And again, after starting the year against the Saints and winning that game, they play 3 teams that people think should be very good in the AFC, right? Chargers, Browns, Bengals, all AFC teams. The AFC is stacked with talent. So being able to win some of these games early in the season is going to be vitally important to how their season goes. We might know whether or not the Titans are a playoff team after week 4, depending on the outcome of those games, right? And I have them beating the Chargers. I have them beating the Browns. And I have them losing to the Bengals. So overall, after week 4, I have them at 3-1. Then you go up just a couple weeks, go to week 6 against the Ravens. They play this game in England. Okay, the Ravens rivalry continues. If you know anything about the Titans, you know the Titans and Ravens fans have been beefing for years. Watching them fight on Twitter is one of the most comical things you can do. Like, honestly, I love going on there and seeing that stuff. It is hilarious. And this rivalry is going across the pond, going into England so the European fans can enjoy this. It should be an electric game. As long as the stars on both these teams are healthy, this should be an electric game, and I hope to be able to watch this game in week 6. Now, ultimately, I have the Ravens winning, okay, because I think the Ravens are going to be a very good football team. But I had the Titans winning the week before in week 5. So up to this point after week 6, I have them at 4-2. And then after that, we're going to jump to weeks 11 and 18 against the Jaguars. Obviously, one at home, one on the road. And if the Titans have any hopes at winning the AFC South and maybe even getting into the playoffs, they need to win both of these games. Both of them. They have to win both of these games to even make the playoffs, in my opinion. And keeping that in mind, needing to win games. Week 14 against the Dolphins, they are in Miami. That is what I think is probably the most important game on this schedule. Okay, because honestly, I don't expect the Titans to win the AFC South. Do have the Jaguars being able to do very well and win the AFC South this year. So the Titans are going to be fighting at this point in the season for a wild card spot. And one of the teams that I think they're going to be fighting with is going to be the Dolphins. The Dolphins also not going to win their division, in my opinion. So both these teams going to be fighting tooth and nail for a wild card spot. The Titans, if they want to get in the playoffs, they have to win the game in Miami. All right, I'm calling my shot right now. If they lose in Miami, they don't make the playoffs. If they win in Miami, they end up making the playoffs. All right, so let's reverse a little. Weeks 11 and 18. I have the Jaguars winning in Jacksonville. Week 18, I have the Titans winning the Week 18 matchup. So the question is, who wins Week 14? And I thought long and hard about this one, with the Titans having Derrick Henry and as much of a beast as he is and how he can take advantage of what the Dolphins defense does, and having DeAndre Hopkins and how that could change that team. I really tried to give the Titans a win here, even though they're in the division. I've always said I like the Titans. As much as I hate saying it, I like a lot of the players on Titans. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. I wanted to give him the win against Miami, but I just can't. I think Miami is very talented. Unfortunately for the Titans, they're in the AFC, dude. You can have a perfectly good team. There are going to be good teams in the AFC this year missing the playoffs. That's just the way it is. But ultimately, that game is the most important game for the Titans because the Titans end up as the 8th seed with an 11-6 record, whereas I had the Dolphins as the 7th seed at a 12-5 record. That's the difference, man. It's game inches in the NFL. So for me, my prediction, you heard it here. I have them winning 11 games in 2023, but missing the playoffs in heartbreak fashion. And I would love to know what your opinion is on the 2023 Titans. You let me know down in the comment section. Let's talk about it a little bit. And don't forget to keep coming back every day for more division debates as we lead into the NFL season. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. I'll see you for the next video.